people don't understand how to learn. And this makes a lot of sense. There aren't any classes you take on how to learn properly. You're just given a bunch of information and hopefully you're able to retain it and execute it. But did you know there's actually a process to learning that gets results and you're probably not even using it? Studies have shown that there are different types of learners, but at the end of the day, I believe there are 13 steps that you can take to learn faster, better, and more efficiently. Now, before I tell you these steps, why should you even listen to what I have to say? I don't have a degree in learning how to learn, and I haven't been certified as some kind of mind coach, but I've become world class in quite a few different things in a very short amount of time. I'm gonna give you a quick list of some of these accomplishments, and I don't want it to come off as bragging, but more so to show you these steps I'm about to give you are things that I use in my life to learn skills really fast. When it came to just normal academic learning in school, I had a 4.3 GPA in high school. When I got to college, my freshman year, I was the male scholar athlete of the entire school, meaning I had excelled at a high level in both academics and athletics. I ended up graduating college in just 3.5 years with an economics degree while being an All-American baseball player who got drafted by the Oakland A's. And to that point, getting drafted by a professional team is not an easy thing. You really have got to learn the sport at a high level in order to advance that fast. In 2020, when I decided to get on social media, I studied a lot of different things and was able to grow to over 2 million followers in less than 3 years. I was also able to learn how to start numerous 7 to 8 figure businesses in different industries. And for fun, I decided to start golfing 2 years ago where I was shooting well over 100 and now I'm scratch. And as of today, the next thing I'm gonna learn is Spanish. I just started doing Duolingo this year and my goal is to be proficient in the language by the year's end. Now once again, I don't want all of that to come off as bragging, but I just wanna show you at 33 years old, I have mastered a lot of different skills in a very short amount of time. And talent definitely plays a role in how far you can take a certain skill. But I believe if you take these 13 steps, you can pretty much master anything. All right, so without further ado, step number 1 is that you need to listen almost 100% of the time when you are trying to learn something. It sounds obvious, but it's really not. I have so many people that come to me for a consultation or a one-on-one, and they might go spend the hour talking 45 minutes on their own. Here's the thing, when you're the one talking, it is literally impossible for you to learn something new. The only way you can learn something new is if you are absorbing new information from somebody else. So when I try to learn from other people, I talk almost none of the time. I'm strictly just listening, and once I get the information, I'm then going to ask another strategic question based on the information I just received. I'm then gonna go get more information from this person, and then I'm gonna ask them another question. So many people try to explain themselves and justify what they're doing, and they just love to talk. But the reality is, if you're trying to learn, you need to flip the script and you need to listen almost 100% of the time. Step number 2 is that if you want to learn something, you need to go all in on learning that one thing. There is no such thing as multitasking. I don't care how gifted you are. If you're trying to master something, you need to focus all of your waking hours on learning that one thing. In 2020, when I wanted to learn how to be a social media content creator, I strictly just watched videos on social media. I absorbed every YouTube video about how to create content, what the best content creators were doing, what kind of equipment you needed. I wanted to know everything there was to know about becoming a creator. And guess what? There were other things I was interested in at that time too, but I pushed all of those aside so that I could have complete focus on mastering this one skill. Because guess what? Once you master that one skill and you get to a level that is good enough for you, you then can go learn a new skill. So for me, once I got good enough at social media where I was repeatable and I was world class, I was then able to go focus on the next thing I wanted to learn, which at that time was golf. I focused all my time and effort into getting better at golf, and in turn, I started to make rapid progress. But guess what? It's not like my social media skill went away. I had already figured out how to do it. And it doesn't mean that I'm gonna stop getting better at that skill, but it just means that now it's gonna have some tweaks and other things. Once a foundation of a skill is set, it's then just tweaking and adding on things to it. So focus on learning that one skill and avoid everything else. The third thing you need to do is practice properly. Here's the thing, you can work really hard, but if you're doing the wrong kind of work, it's actually bad for you. If I practice the wrong golf swing 10,000 times, well, guess what? I just created a terrible habit, and now it's gonna be even harder to break it. But if I'm taking it slower and I'm trying to learn how to practice properly, I'm then going to start getting better habits because I'm going to have the right technique, I'm going to have the right form, I'm going to be saying things the right way. And the more times you do something the right way, the more it becomes a good habit. So for me, before I ever start practicing a skill, I want to at least understand what is the right way to do it. Doesn't mean that I'm just going to go out and execute it the right way when I'm starting out, but I at least want to have the concept of what the right way is. And then from there, I'm going to go practice, I'm going to fail, it's not going to look the same, but I'm going to start to figure out how to make it look the right way. And this actually leads me to step number 4, which is that you want to make sure you get the full picture of a skill before you start. So what that means is, however you're choosing to learn that skill, let's say it's taking a course or watching a YouTube series, make sure you get through the whole course and the whole YouTube series before you go out and try and implement it. I see so many people who will start reading a book and then all of a sudden they're through chapter 1 and they want to just go get started right away. This is a good problem to have because it shows that you're ready to take action, but you're going to realize if you don't have the full picture, you're probably going to have to go back and start over at some point because everything you did in step 1 probably wasn't done the correct way because you didn't understand the full thing. It would be like all the crazy people who build their own IKEA furniture. What if you were just given a whole bunch of parts and you only had step 1? You had no idea what you were building, you had no idea what it was supposed to look like, all you knew was you had a bunch of junk right there and you just had step 1. It wouldn't be very smart, but if you actually knew what the end result looked like and you had this whole pamphlet with all the steps, if you read through it and understand it before you start step 1, you're going to end up doing it a lot easier. The 5th step is that you need to get around other people who are doing that skill. If you want to get better at golf, go hang around with good golfers. See how they talk, watch how they swing, see how they handle certain situations. You are going to learn by osmosis. The fact that you're just around those people will make you a better golfer. If I want to learn how to speak Spanish, well, guess what? I got to get around people who speak Spanish. I've got to start conversating with them in Spanish. Just hanging out on Duolingo by myself is not going to get it done. If you want to learn real estate, get around other people who are actively doing deals in real estate. If you just hang out with your friends and family and they aren't high-level real estate investors, there's no way that you're going to learn anything from them, nor are you going to get inspired and go reach the next level. So you need to join other real estate communities and coaching programs where that's happening. And if you do want to learn real estate investing, whether it's flipping, wholesaling, or Airbnb, you can go to wealthyinvestor.com and book a free call with our team where we can help you out. And we'll give you the full picture of how to actually do it. Step 6 is that you need to create a realistic plan for learning. This means your timeline, your schedule, and what resources are needed. To go back to the golf analogy, I knew if I wanted to be a scratch golfer, I was going to have to practice at least 3 times a week. I was going to have to get a top-tier coach to train me, and I was also going to need to at least play on the course once a week. If I wasn't willing to do those things, then there's no way I could have realistically become a scratch golfer. So you've got to make sure that if you're going to give yourself an aggressive timeline to learn something, that you've got the schedule and the time to fit it in and the resources, aka the money, to get all of the things like coaches, equipment, etc. that are going to be needed to hit that goal. Also, when it comes to scheduling and learning a skill, make sure you know your peak hours for learning. Some of us are morning people, some of us are night owls. Figure out which one you are and start learning during your peak hours. That's going to allow you to retain the most information and to operate at a high level. Step number 7, we've kind of touched on in some of the other steps, and it's definitely the most cliche, but you got to get a mentor or a coach. Hearing information about how to do something is one thing, but what you are lacking that a mentor and a coach will give you is feedback on when you're executing that skill. When I'm trying to go learn the golf swing, I feel like I'm doing one thing, but when my coach is watching me, he can tell me what I'm really doing. There's a saying in life when you're learning skills that there's feel versus real. What you feel is not always what is really happening, but having a coach or a mentor who's able to point those things out to you is so key. If you're trying to run a business and do all these things, a coach is going to be able to look from the top level point of view and say, hey, look, I know you're working hard, but you're screwing up over here. And by doing that, you're going to be able to get back on course and do this thing very quickly. And even to this day, I still need coaches on skills that I've mastered. I have a business coach because things in my business are always breaking. I still have a golf coach because guess what? I'll still go out and shoot a 90 because my swing feels all out of whack and I just don't even know where it went. And I just know that I'm not good enough to consistently self-correct myself. I need other people who understand me to help me get corrected so I can continue on the path. Step 8 is to practice the 4 different types of learning. So you might have heard that people learn either visually, through audio, through reading, or through doing. And we're all gonna vary on where we learn dominantly. Some of you guys are gonna be better when you watch video. Some of you are gonna be better when you just listen to a podcast. Others are gonna be better when they're out just doing the thing. And some of you learn really well by reading. But if you're going all in on one skill, I suggest you learn about that skill in all 4 forms. I think you should be watching YouTube videos. I think you should be listening to podcasts. I think you should be reading books about it. And I think you should definitely be doing the action. For example, my first year of flipping houses in 2015, I was consuming everything I could on that one skill in all forms. I was watching different courses and YouTube videos. I was listening to different podcasts. I was reading every book I could about it. And I was out there making offers to sellers and hunting deals and just taking action on the things I was learning. And that's why I was able to develop the skill so quickly and grow my house flipping business. Now that leads to step number 9, which is more of a philosophy than an actual step. But that is to understand that the purpose must exceed the cost. What I mean by that is you need to understand your purpose for why you want to learn that skill. Like, why is it so important to you to become world class at this skill? Because guess what? If you don't know why you're doing it, when things get really hard, you're gonna stop. Your purpose has to exceed the cost, or else the cost is gonna become too high and you will quit. So let me give you an example. I talked about how this year I want to learn how to speak Spanish. Well, if I just wanted to speak Spanish for no reason, then I'm probably going to quit when the words start getting hard and I can't understand what people are telling me. But because I have strong purpose for learning it, I know I will push through that because the purpose is so much bigger. So for me, there are 2 main reasons I want to learn Spanish. Number 1, I want to reach the Spanish community. We're actually starting a Ryan Pineda Spanish channel so that we can reach out to all of these demographics who aren't getting this kind of information. And so I want to be able to conversate with those people, not just have my content translated for them. And the second reason is I want to live in a Spanish country as my second home. I go to Mexico a ton because we just love vacationing out there. I've got a trip booked to the Dominican Republic right now to go look at some real estate. And I just know that I'm gonna live in one of these tropical environments for a portion of the year. And guess what? All of these tropical environments I wanna live in all speak Spanish. And so if I wanna live there, I better go learn the language so that I can make it easy on myself living there. So my purpose for learning it is definitely there, and it will exceed the cost that it's going to take me in both time, energy, and financial resources. That leads me to step 10, which is to visualize. Before you ever accomplish or learn any kind of skill, you've got to be able to see yourself doing it visually before it ever happens. Every time before the game, I would already visualize myself facing that pitcher having success. And even in my business career, I visualized myself getting big deals, having viral videos, throwing epic events like WealthCon. None of those things happened out of the blue. I visualized them well before they were ever a reality. And because I could see it in my mind, I was able to actually go achieve it. If you can't see yourself doing something, there's almost no way you're gonna actually do it. One of the things I've been recently visualizing is selling a company for over $100 million. I visualized myself becoming a billionaire. I don't know how exactly any of those things are gonna happen, but I can see myself there already, and that's the first step to making it a reality. Step number 11 is that you need to repeat back what you've learned. If you go and learn some new information about a skill, you should be able to go clearly communicate what you just learned to somebody else who has no idea about that skill. Basically, you're teaching the skill even though you don't necessarily know it yet. If you can explain it to somebody very simply, then it shows you at least comprehend the information. Doesn't mean that you'll be able to actually go implement the skill yet, but the first step to implementing is comprehending. So after you learn something, go try and repeat it back to somebody else to make sure that you actually understand it. Step 12 is gonna be a little bit controversial, and it's totally true, but you need to get in shape and start exercising. It's a scientific fact that those who are healthier can learn things quicker. They're not tired and sluggish like people who are out of shape are, and they probably don't have the brain fog and all of these other symptoms that you get when you're in bad health. So if you wanna be really good at learning, you need to optimize your health. Start working out, start eating right, start getting proper sleep. These things are all so important for learning at a high level. And that leads to my final step, which is number 13, and that is to discern who you're listening to. Personally, I don't like people who talk in absolutes. We're all unique, and a skill can be learned and done in very different ways. So find somebody that understands the best way for you to learn that skill. And I can tell you firsthand, the way I have success in real estate can be very different than how you have success. Your path is going to be different than mine, but we can both have the same result. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you're subscribed to the next one. And I think you're actually gonna really like this video that we've put right here, especially if you're able to execute these 13 steps.